Hello everyone and welcome. This is Tushar Chande. Welcome to a discussion of the blast indicator on the 5-minute SOXL or SOXL chart as an example of how to use this indicator on a very short time frame. The disclaimer is a gentle reminder that past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results and there's risk of loss in trading. So why did I choose the SOXL ETF? Primarily because it has great volume and good volatility, so there's some amplitude you can trade with. And of course, the semiconductor sector itself has had a very strong year. And as you know, the SOXL ETF is based on the Philadelphia Stock Exchange's SOXX index. Here we show a graphical summary of the SOXL 5-minute chart. The up arrow is an entry, the down arrow is an exit. The indicator is the blast indicator. So for example, here we had weakness. We want to buy strength after weakness, and then we have a trailing stop and we get stopped out on the trailing stop. As tested, we are entering 1 bar after the actual signal. So even if this is not automated as a bot, you will still have time in the real world to put in the signals in terms of entries and exits should you desire. Here is a summary of the TrendSpider testing module for the TC blast indicator on a 5-minute chart of SOXL representing about 56 days of trading. And let's look at this right-hand chart in greater detail. So this chart shows us that the overall gross performance at 60.3% for this system or bot was better than the 12.1% for the asset as a whole. However, almost 60% of the trades were unprofitable, even though the risk-reward ratio was 2.64. So when it works very well, but you do need to play really good defense to manage the relatively higher proportion of losing trades. Again, we have the 5-minute SOXL chart, we have the blast indicator, and we have entry and exit arrows. What I want to point out here is that the lower panel has the stochastic RSI, where I have done away with the smoothing that's default in TrendSpider, but I have kept the same 14 and 14 parameters, that is a 14-day RSI and then 14-day range for the RSI. So when the RSI is at the top of the 14-day range, you get a number of 100. When the 14-day RSI is at the bottom of its 14-day range, you get a reading of 0. So this is a way of measuring the momentum of the market. If the momentum is rising or high, you get a number at 100. If the momentum is low or the market is weak, you get a number below 20 and certainly closer to 0. So weakness, RSI, stochastic RSI is near 0. It recovers. We're buying strength after weakness. Again, we have a weakness in the market. Stochastic RSI is below 20, close to 0. Stochastic RSI recovers to 100. We have momentum. We're buying strength after weakness, and so on. Important thing to note is that once we have an entry, we don't really care what happens in the lower panel. We're looking strictly at the exit to get us out. And of course, this is an example of where you have consolidation. You have some back and forth action. So it's very important to have good risk control, because we don't know if when we get an entry whether we're going to get a follow-through or not. This is the summary of another test in TrendSpider, this time with Blast plus chats. So we're still working with 5-minute SOXL data, but we now have the requirement that chats should be greater than 70 in addition to the blast conditions. So observe that the gross performance is still greater than the performance of the SOXL, but at 26% it's significantly lower than the 60% or so with blast alone. However, the risk-reward ratio is 3.7 versus 2.6, a significant improvement. So that's the trend we will see, that when we add filtering and the filtering is improving things, you'll typically see the improvement in the risk-reward ratio and not necessarily in the gross returns. So this slide summarizes the effect of adding chats in two different situations. Chats measures trend strength. So when chats is above 70, we have a strong uptrend. When it's below 20, we have a strong, or below 30, we have a strong downtrend. So when we add the chats as an extra condition, the gross performance drops to 26% versus 60% without the chats filter. And if we say that we want to verify the weakness by saying chats is below 20, performance improves right away from say 26% to 47%, but it's still below what it would be if we didn't use chats at all. And the reason for that is chats is adding a delay which could affect both the amplitude that you capture as well as the effect on trade sizing. So combining the two, the idea is that the blast by itself is doing a pretty good job, and adding chats doesn't necessarily improve performance. So in summary, we tested the blast indicator, which is buy low with adaptive stop on a 5-minute chart of SOXL. Even though it cannot be operationalized as a bot at the moment, it can provide a template because on a 5-minute chart, you'd have 5 minutes to implement your trading decisions if you choose to use it. But remember, excellent risk control is essential for the long-term success with the strategy, because you could have more losing trades than winning trades. Thank you for listening.